12 for a half ounce, or
Blog Talk Radio
at 1552.24, 776.12, and 388.06.
The Constitution and the Bill of Rights have been reduced to old relics politicians ignore, trample with their outlandish, overreaching policies. Your support of the Campaign for Liberty stands in the way of this insidious process. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I've teamed up with the Campaign for Liberty to offer the authentic proof quarter-ounce pure gold coin. For only $390 plus shipping, Midas will donate $100 to this incredible organization. Help fight big government by ordering your gold coin at 800-686-2237. You get to win twice by owning gold and fighting an overreaching government. Call 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
WWNN, Pompano Beach. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's hard to find a company that has an impeccable reputation based on professional skill and knowledge, coupled with a strong work ethic, honesty, and integrity. Welcome to the world of Canatelli Builders Incorporated. Specialists in custom residential and commercial construction for 3 generations, CBI finishes the job as agreed and on time. Browse our website at www.canatellibuilders.com, read the testimonials, then call us at 954-977-2775 and let us add your name to our list of satisfied customers. While at the site, be sure to follow the link for complete information about Chinese drywall and what it may mean to you. Integrity, ethics, honesty, knowledge, performance, service, experience, Canatelli Builders. 954-277-2775. Canatelli Builders, the official contractor for the Florida Panthers.
My name is Robert Gluck. I am a practicing trial lawyer and have been specializing in helping people who have been injured in all types of accidents for the past 20 years. I handle cases throughout the state of Florida. Recently, the legislature in Tallahassee has changed certain laws, and insurance companies are now taking advantage of those changes, resulting in much lower offers on personal injury cases across the board. It is now necessary to file a lawsuit to get a fair settlement on these cases. Before you settle your case for less than what it's worth, let me review it over the phone or in person with you for free. If there is no recovery, there is no fee. Call now for your free consultation at 954-583-8999. That's 954-583-8999.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about qualifications and experience. You are listening to the Rockers in Recovery Radio Show. To learn more about the broadcast, go to holisticlifestylesradio.com or join Rockers in Recovery on Facebook. Now back to today's show. Once again, your host, John Hollis.
Welcome to another episode of Rockers in Recovery. My name is Kevin King. I'm filling in for John Hollis. John, of course, had a very busy weekend. He's trying to survive and trying to get some sleep. Don't know if he's able to do that, but he's trying his best. Anyway, I just want to welcome our listeners with 1470 AM. Also, I want to welcome our streamers, Blog Talk Radio, as well as some of our social media networks like Facebook and Twitter. Tonight's show, we're going to feature some legal issues with Robert Glock. And Robert, of course, is a friend of Rockers in Recovery. We have him on often. He's one of our sponsors of this show. And Robert is a graduate from University of Miami. And Robert also worked for the Miami-Dade County State Attorney's Office under Janet Reno. And Robert opened up his own practice in 1998 over in Plantation. So we love, as Rockers in Recovery, of course, we're always involved in legal issues, sometimes always before recovery, and, of course, after recovery, some of those things still affect us. So we're going to talk about some current events tonight with Robert. And so, is Robert, you on board? Robert?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Hello, Robert. Robert was going to try to be in with us tonight live, but I heard you had an important meeting tonight, correct?
I did. You know, as an attorney, sometimes I have to do the dirty work, and I'm on the board of directors at a religious organization, and we we have some financial issues, and I couldn't miss the meeting tonight.
Well, we're glad you're here now. We're glad that we have the technology of phone, and, thank God for Alexander Graham Bell.
Thank God.
Okay, you wanted to talk about some issues tonight, and I think the first one I'm most interested in is Governor Scott's decision to stop the computer tracking, or at least look at it, with the pain management clinics, which we refer to in South Florida as pill mills.
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, South Florida has become the main focal point of everyone's focus on on how to resolve this problem, because we have the largest number of dispensing facilities in the entire country in the Tri-County area, in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach.
So, what is the really? I know that there's people who, really need these pain management clinics, but where's the abuse lying? What do you see? Where is the abuse with these pain management clinics?
So what's that? It's especially appropriate for this, for health and wealth and just dealing with people. And what's happening is that there are many people around the country that have figured out they can come to South Florida and get double or triple the dosage of pain medication than they actually need. And it's almost given that people are going to sell half or two-thirds of whatever supply they receive. So they'll fill the scripts down here, and then they'll travel back to their home state and make thousands of dollars on every trip to Florida, and abuse the Medicaid and get addicted to the pain pills themselves, even on half the amount.
So the majority of the meds that they're taking is the opiates, correct?
Yeah, well, I have, and as a personal injury lawyer, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a case today where I reviewed the records. The client gets into a car accident, had a herniated disc. As soon as he got the MRI that showed he had a herniated disc, while he was still treating conservatively, getting physical therapy from the doctor I referred him to, he drove to West Palm Beach with that MRI, received 500 oxycodone 30-milligram tablets. The next day he took the same MRI to a cardiologist in Delray Beach and received another 250 oxycodone 15 milligrams, and did that twice during a period of a month. Then he went back to the doctor I referred him to, never mentioning these other doctors, and got that doctor to write him another script for oxycodone. And this kind of goes back to what the governor did, was he's trying to put a kibosh on this proposal, which was passed, to create a computer system. It seems to make perfect sense. Anybody that wants to dispense medication in the state has to have a reporting system so that everybody can keep track of who's getting pills from who and how many are they getting. So one doctor knows that the patient that comes into them just got 300 or 400 pills prescribed to them within 3 weeks before they got there. And for the governor to put the brakes on a system like that is crazy, because the system, you could charge, the pharmacies are making so much money on it, make the pharmacies pay for the computer system. You don't have to let the government pay for the computers. You want to make a profit selling oxycodone and the hundreds and hundreds of pills? Fine. You all have to come up with your $3,000-$4,000 each drugstore to run your own system. And it all has to be linked together, or you can't have wholesalers distributing medication to them.
So who is benefiting the majority? It would be the drugstores that are making the majority of the money on this trade?
Well, you know what it is? It's the pharmaceutical companies, too, and that's where the FBI is going now. They're not going to the drugstores. Well, what's interesting, what's happening is the drugstores are being squeezed by the drug companies, because the drug companies are being squeezed by the FBI. They're limiting how much of a supply they're giving to the local drugstores. So now the local drugstores are not filling scripts for people from out of state like they used to. They're even sending away people in state if they're not regular customers, or if they haven't been long-standing customers of that drugstore. They're not filling the scripts, and people are running around trying to go all over the state looking for drugstores now to fill their scripts.
So they're going from doctor to doctor. Now, has there been a What about someone who really needs the pain management? Have they been running short of their supply, their monthly supply also?
That's the problem. There are people that legitimately need it, but I've got to tell you, as soon as somebody goes from the first doctor to the next doctor and they're getting 300 pills here and 500 pills there, well, where's the system in place that allows a doctor to prescribe that many oxycodone pills to one human being in a period of 30 days even? It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that these people are in a fog and they're doing a cocktail. They're getting a 15 milligram pill. They're getting a 30 milligram pill. They're mixing them together with Xanax and other things, and everybody knows what they're doing. And I understand the governor doesn't want Big Brother looking over what we're doing. The crazy thing is that the governor basically said that he didn't think that it was the state's responsibility or something that the state ought to be doing in tracking everyone's drug interactions. Now, that's kind of a little silly. We're not saying that the government should be snooping in our bedrooms, but my gosh, if we're getting 300 Oxycontin pills, or oxycodone pills, shouldn't the government be able to say there should be a system in place so that everybody, all the drugstores know when narcotics are being dispensed like that?
No doubt. I mean, he's going to pay for it one way or the other. If they're not going to pay for it in the distribution, and surely the state's going to have to pick up the treatment of the drug addictions that is being out there now.
Sure they are, and you know what? And I used to be a prosecutor in the drug court in Dade County, and I can tell you it's thousands and thousands of dollars per person to go through these drug court programs. And if people don't have the access to the pain pill, it's really a money machine. It's crazy. The governor wants to scrap the entire computer system to track the pain pills simply because he thinks it won't succeed. And his other argument that there's not enough money to do it isn't really well placed, because you could just impose an obligation on the pharmacies and the drug manufacturers to pay for it.
So it passed both houses, and then he turned around and said, the system isn't going to work? Is that what happened?
It's not going to work, so we're going to scrap it. And it's absolutely crazy, because my law firm is right next door to a drugstore. And, kids get addicted to this stuff, even though some of them are doing it to sell and make money. The portion that they're keeping for themselves, they're getting addicted to it. And a 19-year-old kid walked into the drugstore next door to my office while his mother was in a pain clinic across the street getting a script for pain pills, and committed an armed robbery for pain pills. Wow. And got caught running through the parking lot. And this 19-year-old kid now is going to go to prison for the next 20 years for an armed robbery of a pharmacy because he got addicted to his mother's oxycodones, because she just keeps going to the doctor and getting more and more and more of them.
And I was reading a report also with the pain pills that when I was a kid and people started being involved in drugs, usually the gateway drug was marijuana. Now I read a report that the gateway is pain pills.
Yeah, and it's really, really scary. And we haven't even touched on how many people are driving under the influence of these pain pills, because most of the time when people are in accidents and the officer investigates, if they don't smell alcohol or observe, or smell or observe a strong odor or bloodshot eyes or things like that, it's hard. There's drug experts that could pick up on that, but most of the time people I don't even want to guess what percentage of people are driving around South Florida under the influence of oxycodone.
People that we're running into every day, whether we're in the PTA meeting or just driving around the streets of South Florida.
Or people operating cranes, and people operating buses, and people that are day laborers that are in pain. And all you need in this state is an MRI showing some positive finding to walk into any doctor and say, I've got long-standing retractable pain. I've tried conservative measures and they haven't helped. And most of the time they don't even do a physical exam. Your prior history and an MRI is enough. And sometimes they don't even have a herniated disc on an MRI to get hundreds of pills. They'll show up with an MRI that just shows a bulging disc, which 50% of the Earth's population has,
sure,
according to the New England Journal of Medicine. And they just march in and get hundreds and hundreds of pills for that. I mean, where's the control of the doctors for prescribing? There's the case I had today. The doctor was a cardiologist from Davie that was driving up to West Palm Beach working for a pill mill, prescribing hundreds of Oxycontin to somebody for back pain. And he's a cardiologist, according to when I Googled him. So you know, it's just a cycle. But this computer system would have stopped it, because then you say to the pharmacy, if they're in the computer and they've received X number of doses within 30 days and you fill a new script, we're going to take away your license. You're not going to be able to work. You're not going to be able to be in business anymore. That'll put a stop to it. If you say to a doctor, if the person's in the computer and you write them another script within 30 days, you get suspended.
I mean, what are the models of other states? Because you said earlier that people are coming from out of state, probably acquiring, which is not that hard to get a Florida license, to get the Florida license, to get the MRI, and go in and then take these drugs out of state. What are the models out of state that are, you know, make it more difficult as opposed to Florida?
Well, out of state, they enforce the law. They make it hard. Well, the doctors in the other side, you know, the doctors in the other states, what they're doing is they're not writing scripts as easily as they are in Florida. What I think is in other states they're more in fear that they'll be disciplined for doing it. In Florida, it's so prevalent. A cardiologist in Davie isn't scared to take a side job, making an extra $150,000 a year, going 2 days a week to West Palm Beach to write scripts for people that have back pain. So if a doctor doesn't have any concern that he's going to be scrutinized for doing that, it's going to keep happening. So in other states, their state agencies that discipline doctors are more strict than Florida. And the doctors in those states won't dare to do what they're doing in Florida. And other states do, and there are computer systems in other states where there is self-reporting. I don't know that any other state has mandatory reporting, but I do know that obviously Florida is the easiest place in the country for people to do this, because when you go to these pain clinics, half of the cars have out-of-state license plates on them.
That is amazing. And there's no DEA or anybody watching them right now, or are they?
They are. Now what they're doing is, yes, they're targeting the clinics. They're sitting in the parking lots of these clinics. They're actually, and I know this for a fact, they're following people that leave the clinic and pulling them over a block or two away from the clinic and searching their vehicles and trying to harass. And they have task force now, local police departments, where they're trying to harass anyone they see with an out-of-state tag leaving a pain pill clinic.
So that brings up what would the probable cause, just because they have an out-of-state plate, or an illegal issue?
Well, they don't care about probable cause. They don't even care about arresting them. They just want to chase them out of Florida.
Okay, so they're just putting the fear in them that if you come here, you may get in trouble.
Yeah, and then they'll maybe look and get lucky and find marijuana in the car, or they'll have pills that they don't have a script for. But it's incredible what the markup is they can get these pills, and they'll pay $800 to fill hundreds of pills, but then they can sell that for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on the street.
Wow. So it's big business for the consumer. Basically they're drug dealers.
I don't know that this governor realizes what's going on down here, and he thinks he's protecting business. The only business he's protecting are legal drug dealers, which are basically doctors and writing scripts for people that don't need them.
That's amazing. Yeah, I did read an article in the Wall Street Journal, one of the doctors down here who has an amazing spread in Miami, where he's doing model photo shoots at night. He's driving all these classic cars. He looks like a punk rocker, and he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah, and the fact, if somebody's got intractable pain from a disc injury or something where they really need that type of medication, you're going to see that they've tried epidurals. They've gone to pain clinics that don't just write prescriptions, that do other types of pain management. But you shouldn't just be able to show up with an MRI and say, "Trust me, I'm in pain," and get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pills. You should at least have to come back every week or two and report what your current symptoms are. You shouldn't be getting 30, 40, 50, 60 days supply at a time.
Right. I just moved down here from Philadelphia, and I know in Pennsylvania you go to a regular doctor, and the doctor gives you prescriptions. We don't have buildings that just have on the storefront pain management. You go to your doctor, and your doctor prescribes.
How about this? Up until recently, they were allowing the dispensary to be right in the facility, so that they not only are they're charging cash for the visit, they're making a profit charging cash to fill the scripts right on the spot.
so they're getting them coming and going.
Well, they stopped that. They kind of cut that off, so now they have to go to pharmacies to get them filled. But up until they changed that, imagine, I know a neurologist that only treated people for accident cases, and after 20 years of being a neurologist, decided to open up a pill mill because it was just so profitable he couldn't resist.
Right. For somebody that's in recovery, this kind of stuff really does anger me and enrages me. And when I was reading the paper before I was coming down here, I did see that they were going to try to put a stop to it. But the problem with addiction, the problem with, like you said, operating vehicles, single parents, women who have back pain that are on Oxycontins as they're trying to raise their young children. It goes across the board, the problems here, and it's amazing that the governor cannot see that.
It is, and I see it over 20 years as a personal injury lawyer. I try it when I know it's going to happen. When a client comes to my office and they're injured in an accident, and the first thing I tell them is that I recommend that I refer them to an orthopedic doctor that can send them for physical therapy. And then the first thing they say is, but I don't want physical therapy. I need to go to someone for pain management. I need pills. And I know it. I can see the people that as soon as it's like a light in their head, I'm going to be able to make money selling these pills. I'm going to use this accident sometimes this happens as an excuse to be able to get these pain pills and to be able to make a profit on them. And then other people truly are in pain, and they go to the wrong clinic and they get a pill, and the pill makes the pain go away, and then they don't bother with physical therapy or with conservative treatment because the pain goes away so quick with the pill. It's a lot easier than sweating it out in physical therapy 3 days a week.
If anybody's listening, we're talking to Robert Gluck, and we're talking to Robert Gluck about pain management clinics. We're also going to cover other areas, legal issues and current events and legal issues tonight. So, Rob, we're going to take our first break, and I will be back with you right after our sponsors.
All right, thank you.
If you have a passion for helping people, you may be a perfect candidate to become a certified addiction professional. And there's no better place than the Academy for Addiction Professionals in Fort Lauderdale. The Academy for Addiction Professionals is nationally certified to train you as a certified addiction counselor, certified addiction specialist, or certified behavioral health technician. You can even take online continuing education courses. You will have access to cutting-edge resources, important certification updates, trends in the behavioral health field, and you can network with other addiction professionals. Turn your passion into your profession. Contact the Academy for Addiction Professionals in Fort Lauderdale, 877-824-0001. That's 877-824-0001, or online at www.addictionacademy.com.
This is Ricky Bird, and I love my sound.
Let me tell you about the Sound Pillow. Sound Pillow helps many people in early addiction recovery who suffer from stress, anxiety, fear, and long sleepless nights to get a comfortable night's sleep by providing a calming and soothing feeling for the mind's everyday distractions. Sound Pillow allows the mind to shut down, the body to relax, and the spirit to heal. Go online to soundpillow.com. That's soundpillow.com. And while you're there, check out the many endorsements from people and addiction treatment centers using the Sound Pillow. Don't lose another night's sleep. Call toll-free today, 877-846-6488. That's 877-846-6488. And let the healing begin. Go online to soundpillow.com. That's www.soundpillow.com.
My name is Robert Gluck. I am a practicing trial lawyer and have been specializing in helping people who have been injured in all types of accidents for the past 20 years. I handle cases throughout the state of Florida. Recently, the legislature in Tallahassee has changed certain laws, and insurance companies are now taking advantage of those changes, resulting in much lower offers on personal injury cases across the board. It is now necessary to file a lawsuit to get a fair settlement on these cases. Before you settle your case for less than what it's worth, let me review it over the phone or in person with you for free. If there is no recovery, there is no fee. Call now for your free consultation at 954-583-8999. That's 954-583-8999.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about qualifications and experience.
This is Ricky Bird, and I am a rocker in recovery, and I love to listen to Rockers in Recovery on rockersinrecovery.com.
Welcome back to Rockers in Recovery. This evening we're talking with Robert Gluck on some of the current events in the legal community. If you're interested in getting in touch with Robert, Robert is a personal injury lawyer. You can reach Robert at 954-583-8999 or on his website, robertgluck.com. All right, Robert, we want to continue talking about these pain management clinics. One question I have for you, we brought up the issue that people could go and have a car accident or injured on the job. What is the chances or the possibility if someone is getting prescribed these meds and get in an accident, can they ever go back to a lawsuit against the pain management clinic?
Well, the problem with that is no. Usually, because when the person goes to the pain clinic, in order to get the doctor to prescribe whatever they're going to receive, they have to tell the doctor that they're experiencing long-standing intractable pain, and they have to tell the doctor that they've tried conservative measures and that they haven't worked. Now, you know what? I don't mean to say that that's not the case in many instances. There are plenty of people that do have serious enough injuries that they really need that type of medication. But unfortunately, they jump right to that sometimes before they try other things first, and then it's too late because the doctors are so willing to just freely write scripts. But you can't really sue a clinic for prescribing meds when you yourself are telling the doctor that it's clinically necessary and that and now there are instances, though.
Yeah, what if someone else gets injured as a result of, say, a phony MRI or something like that?
But people are not going to the same doctor over and over. They're going to go to 2, 3, 4 different doctors in the same month, so that any one doctor, not knowing about the others, would not be unjustified in prescribing pain pills for someone that has a herniated disc that's saying that they've tried everything else and nothing else is working. Now, if it's the same doctor who's prescribing more pills than it's humanly possible for one person to consume in a month, then that doctor would be exposed to malpractice, and it would be foreseeable that if the prescribed party then goes out and injures someone, then the doctor could be responsible for that. But usually what you'll find is nobody's going to go back to the same doctor and get enough pills to be able to support a claim like that. It's just going to be 3, 4 different doctors all within the same few weeks.
Okay, we have a caller right now that wants to call in and talk to you, Robert. Caller?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, it's John. Robert, I got a question for you. And I've been listening to the show, and one of the things that, I'm really interested in finding out here, and I think it's important, is like if I'm driving down the street and somebody that's been, to one of these pill mills runs into me and, God forbid, maims me and kills my whole family, do I have recourse against him and going all the way back to the doctors that prescribed it to him? The 10 doctors that prescribed him what he shouldn't be getting?
I don't think you would have recourse against the doctors because any one of those doctors would not have prescribed enough pills to make it obvious to them that it was an abusive amount. It would have been spread out, and because the governor denied the request to have this computer system, they're going to claim there's no system in place for them to possibly know that the person had these scripts filled multiple times within a short period of time from multiple doctors and multiple pharmacies. So they're just going to bury their head in the sand and say we didn't know. And your cause of action would be against the drug addict who maims or kills somebody, but unfortunately they probably don't have any assets, and you're not going to be able to collect anything from them.
And this all comes back to us not having a system in place to be able to track who's giving all of this, because if we did, we could go back, couldn't we?
Yeah, you have to be able to track it. And what's wrong with making the policies pay for it? How can the governor come in and say that there's no money for it when you can bill the people that are profiting off of it and making them pay for the system?
Well, listen, it's a great show, man. Great topic, and you've answered my question. Kevin, great job. Robert, great job, and I'll look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.
All right, thank you, John.
Oh.
Robert, he just couldn't stay away, correct?
John, and I got to tell you that I am sensitive. I'm not just assuming that everybody that takes OxyContin is making money off of it and abusive and not in need of pain medication. I was at that Rockers in Recovery concert last weekend, and I was really moved by every single person that got up on that stage that was a rock and roll musician that talked about their recovery. I was moved by the songs that were written about recovery and how everybody there supported each other in recovery. It was really, thank God I'm not in recovery. I'm sure there's something I need to recover from. I'll figure it out eventually. But I really was moved by all of that. And I know there are people, I'm not insensitive to the fact that people do have pain needs and end up getting addicted to this stuff. And I used to be a prosecutor in drug court, and really our goal was to get people counseling so they can get off of these things. And, in some cases it was more serious drugs and narcotics, but now it's pain pills. Pain pills are kids are taking them from their parents, and it's a lot easier to get an oxycodone than it is to get cocaine these days.
No doubt. Now, this will definitely be a subject, I'm sure, that we'll be talking again and again on Rockers in Recovery, because it really does affect the recovery community. In fact, the majority of treatment centers, the average age used to be in the 30s. Now the average age is in the young 20s. And what we have is opiate, we have junkies, young kids who have turned into hardcore junkies. They say that one OxyContin, 80 milligram, is equal to 10 bags of heroin. So they're getting stuff stronger at these pain management clinics than they could ever get, say, in Opelika in Miami or in our inner cities. And it's much more accessible, like you said, the parents' medicine cabinet, as that example you gave. So we're going to move on to another subject. Last week, a couple weeks ago, we had the Super Bowl down in Dallas. And, of course, there was ice and snow, and there was a lot of things that went on there. I almost wanted to have a lawsuit against the Black Eyed Peas myself, but that was pretty brutal halftime entertainment. But I really wanted to get, your view on one great thing that, not one great thing, but one thing that really was an amazing thing that Jerry Jones did was somehow there were people who bought tickets to the Super Bowl and then were denied a seat. And I wanted to get your take on that.
Right. I was going to say the only thing that saved the Black Eyed Peas was Slash.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
If Slash finished his solo, he got the heck off that stage so he wouldn't be anywhere near the rest of them.
It's amazing. I thought music required people to play music. I didn't see any instruments but his guitar. But anyway.
Well, but yes, what's really amazing about that is, and what's sad is that they had over 400 people that they knew that the railings and the things that were necessary to pass code for that final group of around 400 seats to be ready was not ready. They knew it wasn't ready before Super Bowl week. They, in my opinion, had a duty to call or at least make an effort to contact the purchasers of those tickets if it was through Ticketmaster. Usually those go through the NFL, and they know who those tickets were dispersed to. And if, let's say, you got a ticket from Bernie Kosar or something, and you contacted him and said there's a problem with one of the seats we gave you, he'll be able to tell them who he gave that seat to.
Correct.
These people should have been contacted before they went through the expense and the effort and the torture of sitting through a week of hell in that terrible weather to then be offered tickets to the following year. If this is your team and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, how can you put a value on that? Do they really want to see who I know will be in the Super Bowl next year, will be the Dolphins?
Okay.
I'm sure a Steelers fan couldn't care less about next year's Super Bowl. And what I thought would be an interesting thing to just touch on is how far do you take damages? Do you say that they're being reasonable by offering them, I think, 3 times the face value of the ticket and giving them a free ticket to next year's Super Bowl and letting them on the field for the post-game show, which is basically what they did? It sounded reasonable to me when I first heard that, but then the next day I listened to a gentleman on Sports Talk Radio who was one of the people that got shut out, and he said, wait a minute, I paid 5 times face value for my ticket. I spent $20,000 dragging my whole family to Dallas for a week. We would have never come here if we knew we didn't have tickets to the game. So all the money I spent on the hotel, I enjoyed my hotel for the week, sitting in my room watching it snow, and all the other expense. They're not getting, it could cost a family of 4 that goes to a Super Bowl, if they're wealthy, 30, 40 grand. That's a big, big thing to do. So now there's going to be a class action lawsuit, and everybody is going to join. And John and I in the past have talked about class action lawsuits, and in this case, everyone's damages are different. I think the guy that could prove he paid 10 times the face for his ticket and sat in a hotel for a week, that's what he should get back. And I think that they should analyze each one of their specifics, let them bring in receipts, and on the side, they should just pay everyone separately for every penny they spent for that week. Between Jerry Jones and the NFL, they could afford it.
Jerry could definitely afford it and have it go away pretty quick. Yeah, I definitely would be on top of that if I was one of those fans.
But now people are saying, these fans are being pigs about it, but then it brings up the analysis. What is a fair value of damages? Are you entitled to your pain and suffering for having to miss your team's only show? Let's say Green Bay never makes it to the Super Bowl again. Right. And this is the last time in your life you could have seen Green Bay in the Super Bowl. Or let's say, God forbid, you had a family member that was, that was elderly and wasn't going to be around. It's your last chance to go to a Super Bowl. Everybody's damages are different. But should we allow people to go in front of judges and juries and spend time saying, my grandfather was 90, I want $100,000 for losing the experience and the emotional stress that it put us through? Should we automatically say you're not entitled to your day in court on that? The Constitution doesn't give you the right to push it that far. You have to take what they offer you, and that's it. So it's hard to say. They should be entitled to present their side of it to a judge or a jury, but it's kind of ridiculous.
I don't know who the ticket holders were, but I know, for example, with Green Bay, you bring up Green Bay Packers, the season ticket holders in Green Bay actually own the team. So it'd be an amazing thing to have to go to the Super Bowl as an owner, so-called owner, and not be able to see your team. So that would be a whole other area, which I doubt they were the ticket holders that were denied.
Yeah, and what's even more egregious is that they knew that these seats were not available and made no effort to notify people ahead of time until right at the end when they were all already in Dallas. And you know what? And that brings up something that would have never had. 2 things would have never happened if the Super Bowl stayed in Florida where it should be. Number one, there wouldn't be ice crystals forming on the roof of Joe Robbie Stadium, melting and sliding down and bashing into the heads, injuring tons of people trying to walk into the stadium to watch a Super Bowl. That would have never happened.
Right. I think the last person was hit by ice in Dallas was in Philadelphia when they threw a snowball at the coach. But,
yeah, right.
So South Florida, last year we had the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl. I was here for both. Everything went well. And what are some of the advantages of the Super Bowl, having the Super Bowl in Florida as opposed to Dallas?
Yeah, one really big one. And the players, and many people don't realize this, the players pay income tax in each state that they play in. If you're in the NFL and in the course of a 16-week season you play in 8 different cities, in each of those states you have to file a state income tax return unless it's a state that doesn't have a state income tax, like Florida. That's why in Florida teams are able to pay their players a little bit less than other states, because a salary of $80,000 in Florida is equivalent to a salary of $100,000 in New York, because in New York they'll have to pay a state income tax. So the players would rather play the Super Bowl in Florida, because if they get paid $80-something thousand on the winning team, each player for the Super Bowl, they save the tax money on that. They don't have to pay state income tax.
Right.
And one other interesting footnote on football that I never knew until I had a next-door neighbor that played for the Dolphins. If you get injured in the NFL, depending upon what state you get injured in, you're entitled to the workers' comp benefits of that state. A friend of mine was an offensive lineman for the Dolphins, and he got injured in California playing a game against the Oakland Raiders. He was able to show a California workers' compensation judge what play it was he got hurt on, and he was able to collect California workers' compensation benefits.
That is amazing.
I bet you didn't know that.
No, that's amazing. But it makes sense, you know, you're playing in California.
And you're availing, and you're protected by their laws. That's why you have to pay state income tax, but you're also protected by their state workers' compensation system if you get hurt while you're working in their state.
So
I think the Super Bowl should...
I'm sorry, Robert, does that happen every week? So if a team is playing away in another, their pay that they get received, is that state is who taxes them?
Yeah, you have to get your accountant to file a state tax return in every state that has a state income tax.
So for 8 weeks of the season, you're possibly getting taxed in 8 different states.
Right, and you have to file 8 different tax returns plus a federal tax return. That's why there's a niche of accountants that only handle athletes because they know how to file. You know, they know all these separate returns need to get filed.
That is amazing. I never knew that. Well, anyway,
so that's why the Super Bowl should be in Florida, because they don't have to worry about taxes. They don't have to worry about snow. We're not going to build seats and not tell people they're not ready. It's crazy to have a Super Bowl. And we're going to go to New York in an open stadium next year. I hope they have a blizzard in New York next year.
If there's anything like this winter, it's going to be brutal. It's a ridiculous move. I still, when they announced, I think it's 2012 is when it's going to be there.
Right, that's next year.
Yeah, next year. It's
crazy. I hope there's a snowstorm and they never have a Super Bowl anywhere other than Florida again.
Well, we like that as South Floridians now because I definitely claim here. Well, listen, Robert, we're going to go to a break, and tonight we're listening we're talking to Robert Gluck. We're talking about legal issues and current events. To get a hold of Robert, a personal injury lawyer, if you have any personal injury claims that you would like to get taken care of, you can reach Robert at 954-583-899 or robertgluck.com. That's RobertGluck.com. We'll be right back after these breaks.
Well, I picked up some bad habits. Are you looking for a new, healthier way of living? Maybe you're suffering from high blood pressure, diabetes, or another diet-related illness. The Green Wave Cafe is a unique raw food restaurant and market carrying the finest organic foods and supplements. Owned and operated by Raul and Lisa Valley, the Green Wave Cafe is also a school for gourmet raw food preparation. Lisa graduated from the Living Light Culinary Institute, and Raul is a health educator at Hippocrates, dedicated to teaching a diet promoting long and healthy living without sacrificing flavor and taste. The Green Wave Cafe, located at 5221 West Broward Boulevard in Plantation. Check our website at www.greenwavecafe.org to find daily lunch menus, schedule of raw food cooking classes, and special events. Call 954-581-8377 for more information. The Green Wave Cafe, a way to healthier living. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's hard to find a company that has an impeccable reputation based on professional skill and knowledge, coupled with a strong work ethic, honesty, and integrity. Welcome to the world of Canatelli Builders Incorporated. Specialists in custom residential and commercial construction for 3 generations, CBI finishes the job as agreed and on time. Browse our website at www.canatellibuilders.com. Read the testimonials, then call us at 954-977-2775 and let us add your name to our list of satisfied customers. While at the site, be sure to follow the link for complete information about Chinese drywall and what it may mean to you. Integrity, ethics, honesty, knowledge, performance, service, experience, Canatelli Builders. 954-277-2775. Canatelli Builders, the official contractor for the Florida Panthers.
Let me tell you about the Sound Pillow. Sound Pillow helps many people in early addiction recovery who suffer from stress, anxiety, fear, and long sleepless nights to get a comfortable night's sleep by providing a calming and soothing feeling for the mind's everyday distractions. Sound Pillow allows the mind to shut down, the body to relax, and the spirit to heal. Go online to soundpillow.com. That's soundpillow.com. And while you're there, Check out the many endorsements from people and addiction treatment centers using the Sound Pillow. Don't lose another night's sleep. Call toll-free today, 877-846-6488. That's 877-846-6488. And let the healing begin. Go online to soundpillow.com. That's www.soundpillow.com.
This is Ricky Byrd, and I love my Sound Pillow.
All right, welcome back to Rockers in Recovery. This evening we're speaking with Robert Gluck. Robert, we just one other areas that we can talk about and some legal issues that are going on in current events today.
Sure. I thought that something really important that's going on is 13 states' attorney generals filed a federal lawsuit alleging that the new health care and insurance bill passed by Congress several months ago and signed into law by President Obama is unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court is going to hear that. And it's kind of an incredible thing that the people that created our Constitution and created our government 200-plus years ago were able to foresee that conflicts could arise so far beyond their years that they created an infrastructure to protect us from each other. There's a separation of powers between the federal government and the state government. And what these attorney generals are saying is that the United States government is limited in what it can do. And most people don't realize that the Congress in the United States, the United States Congress in Washington, under Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, they're limited. There's a list of what their powers are. They can't go beyond that. And just to make sure of that, when they wrote the laws way back when, hundreds of years ago, the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says powers not delegated to the U.S. by the Constitution are reserved to the states. So what the states are saying is, hey, government in Washington, you can't pass a law that imposes upon our people in our states to do things that you want them to do that the Constitution doesn't give you the power to do. And it's incredible that President Obama thought that he'd be able to get his health bill passed. But, for example, they required mandating that all citizens and legal residents of the United States have health care coverage or pay a tax penalty. Nowhere in the Constitution does it authorize the United States to mandate, either directly or by a threat, that all citizens have to have health care coverage. So that's a violation of the Constitution, according to these attorney generals. And then it also encroaches on the sovereignty of the states. It requires Florida broaden its Medicaid eligibility to accommodate almost 50% more enrollees without providing any funds to do it. So basically what these states are saying is, hey, federal government, you can't just pass all these laws and then tell us we've got to follow them when it obligates us to spend money to enforce what you want to do and you don't provide money to do it, and you're stepping on our toes because you can't tell our uninsured people what contracts they have to enter into and what money they have to spend. That's beyond your power as the United States government.
And it's an amazing thing, the fact that just even the number 13 states going back to the beginning of the founding of this country. And, you know, thank God for the founding fathers who wrote this stuff down, because who knows what would happen if this wasn't written down and power from above, big government can just come in and control. And thank God there's states' rights, like you said earlier, over the federal government, that a lot of people think it's flip-flop. You know, it's the states and then the federal. But here it seems that, the federal government wants to not only get involved in things like health care, but also in banking and industry and all sorts of other different areas where, I thought there was a real separation, but I don't know. It seems like things are a little different today, Robert.
So, yeah, but you know what? The Supreme Court of the United States, in my opinion, they're going to look at this as a narrow constitutional analysis, and they're going to say there's nothing in the United States Constitution that authorizes the federal government to impose an obligation on states to spend money for a federal program and to require citizens in the state to spend money for a federal mandate like this. And it's just unprecedented. So it doesn't seem that that's going to happen.
Wow, that's amazing. But you never know, because I remember first with free enterprise where you thought that business would never be, government can never come into somebody's private business. But, of course, we see now it has limited government control where it used to be no government control. So, it seems like people are trying their best to, make that Constitution very elastic.
Yeah, you know what? It's really an incredible document when you think about it. That's something that people wrote in a day and age when, forget about no laptop computers. Right. They didn't even have electricity, barely had electricity. What were they, the Constitution with candles?
Man, I think they were writing with a feather pen.
Feather pens, oh my God. And they, in that point, could envision a time, hundreds and hundreds of years later, where the federal government might try and do things that overstep their boundaries. And they have a literal list of what they can and can't do. And if you've never read, the First Amendment, the first article of the U.S. Constitution, where under Section 8, it's incredible. It really lists the powers of Congress, and they sat there all those hundreds of years ago, including to establish post offices, to provide for punishment of counterfeiting the money of the United States, to promote the progress of science and useful arts, to continue tribunals inferior to constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. So, I mean, it's such a detailed list to raise and support armies, to maintain a navy. It doesn't say anything about making everyone in individual states have health insurance. Because guess what? These states didn't want to be a part of the federal government originally, and they only be a part of the union is if the federal government was limited in what they could do.
It is amazing the foresight that these guys had, and the fact that you and I can even be on the air talking about these without government coming in and shutting us down, that we are free to speak about anything, and it's amazing. I get goosebumps every time I think about the foresight that the Founding Fathers did have.
Well, I'm not going to put Governor Scott to come knocking on my door tomorrow because telling me he didn't like what I had to say about his pill mill idea.
No, you might have a couple drug addicts telling you please back off, but I'm kidding. Speaking of that, we can go full circle with the pill mills. The health care and let's talk about malpractice actually, because there's I think I heard something about health courts and different things that they're trying to establish.
Yeah, President Obama started a drive for medical malpractice reforms, and he wants to overhaul the state medical malpractice laws to cut down on wasteful tests. You see, they figure doctors perform all these unnecessary tests because they fear lawsuits. So if they can get rid of the lawsuits, doctors won't do as many unnecessary tests. There might be some to that, but the reality of it is that some of these things he wants to do are pretty interesting. The President Obama came up with a proposal to have something called the health court, where specially trained judges, not juries, would decide medical malpractice cases, awarding money from a set schedule. So I guess it would say, lose left arm, this is how much you get. Lose a leg, this is how much you get. But set schedules from a professional judge don't really work. If I lose my leg and I'm a lawyer, I mean, it's terrible that I lose my leg, but I could still sit at my desk and make a living.
Yeah, I think there was Ironside, right? Ironside. No,
yeah, in a wheelchair. It's even more credible. People listen to him more because he was in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
But if you're a construction worker, you shouldn't be able to argue, hey, I'm going to lose $40,000 a year for the next 30 years because my economic damages are much more because I use my legs to make a living.
Of course.
They want to have these health courts. One of the other ideas that he wants, how about this, by the way? They didn't pass any of his ideas, but what they did pass was agreeing to spend $25 million in grants to study the problem. Could you believe that? They did that already. They couldn't they didn't agree to anything he wanted to do except to pay $25 million to look at it more. One of the other things he wanted to do, he wanted to create a legal defense for doctors, hospitals, and other providers who follow certain guidelines. They're safe harbored and they're automatically protected from lawsuits. He wanted a program where, this makes sense, where hospitals and doctors, as soon as they realize they made a mistake, to disclose it early, offer an apology and money immediately. And then the law would say that if they do that, they feel that the law will make it so that you can't use that against them. If a doctor apologizes and admits he made a mistake, offers money, you can't go to trial and use that against him to prove he was wrong And by doing the apology right away and admitting they were wrong and offering money, studies have shown that it really cuts down on lawsuits. People sometimes will run to a lawyer because they're mad that the doctor, made a mistake and didn't even apologize or didn't even admit to it or didn't do anything about it. Now they're saying, hey, say you're sorry, offer them the money that you think is fair, and if they don't take it, they can't use it against you anyway, and we figure this will stop half the people that get the apology and the money from running to a lawyer. There may be a lot of truth to that idea.
There might be some truth, but then again you get into what, just like in the health courts, what cost to which, how do you disperse the money? What figure is each case?
And it's so hard because everybody's future medical needs are going to be different. Everybody's economic effect from an injury is different. That's why we have juries, because every person is in a unique situation, and juries can look at each case individually. And that's, we talked about the Constitution, talking, just a moment ago about the separation of state between the states and the federal government on the other issue. But now we have a situation where medical malpractice claims are deal with your right to access to courts. The Constitution says you have a right to a trial of the jury of your peers.
Exactly.
So now the government's going to come in again and try and do something that's unconstitutional. It's called taking away your access to the courts. Our forefathers, who were smart enough to stop the federal government from stepping on the states, is also smart enough to realize that if we want to compensate people fairly when mistakes are made that cause harm, let 12 people or 6 people from the community sit and judge what should be done. It's worked all these years. Now we're going to if it's a Republican administration, we'll have a panel of Republican judges deciding how much money to give people when they've been maimed and injured at the hands of, assuming there is a real negligent situation, if a mistake is made. So we go right back to the Constitution. People have a right to their day in front of a jury on these things, and President Obama wants to just take it away from the juries.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, like I said earlier, it's turning upside down. The individual is the top of and then it goes to the state, up to the federal. But it seems now the federal is coming down to mandate to the individual instead of a government by the people and for the people.
There's one check on all of them. The Supreme Court of the United States, because that's the judiciary that steps in and says to the executive branch and the legislature, hey, what you guys are doing is unconstitutional. You can't do that. They may step in and stop the health insurance law, and they may step in and stop all of these efforts at limiting access to the courts because of the constitutional right to a trial by jury.
Wow. Well, listen, Robert, the show has gone fast tonight. It's been a great informative show. We went from the pill mills in South Florida all the way to the government seemed to be topsy-turvy in different areas of the health courts and the Super Bowl. So I just wish in the last minute if you could just, once again, let our listeners know how they could, if they had a personal injury concern, how they would get a hold of Robert Gluck. In 1 minute.
The best way to reach me is what I do is I'm available by my website, which is robertgluck.com. I'm available on my law firm is I am 877 Gluck Law. I'm also at 954-583-8999. I've been a lawyer for 22 years. I do all of my cases by myself. All of my clients get my cell phone number. And I'll sit down with anybody that wants a fair evaluation of a case that they have and tell them my opinion. If it's a case that I think that should
Robert,
be settled,
I hate to tell you, we have to cut you off at this point because we're up against the time. Thank you so much for being a guest, and to everybody out there, this is another episode of Rockers in Recovery. Please stay clean and stay sober.
You're listening to WWNN, Pompano Beach.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist-recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
The holidays start here at Kroger with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. You could do a classic herb-roasted turkey or spice it up and make turkey tacos. Serve up a go-to shrimp cocktail or use Simple Truth wild-caught shrimp for your first Cajun risotto. Make creamy mac and cheese or a spinach artichoke fondue from our selection of Murray's cheese. No matter how you shop, Kroger has all the freshest ingredients to embrace all your holiday traditions. Kroger, fresh for everyone.